you right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, I'm from Brooklyn. Hey, guys, any?
This is Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good evening, everyone. Happy Friday Eve. It is January 11th, 2024, and I am your host, Sonia Pearson, with Northeast Streaming Sports nightly news and the nightly recap that you look forward to only on Northeast Streaming Sports. Shout out to Linda and Mac, the producers, and I am joined here by my newest friend, my co-host tonight, the one, the only, the Philly sports guy, Pags. Hi, Pags. How are you?
Hey, Sonia, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for the blessing of coming on my show. Everyone, please come in, say hello. Welcome, Pags here. He is a diehard Eagles fan. In fact, we are going to gear a large portion of our show tonight to the Eagles, who are in the playoffs once again. But before we get started, the breaking news, the Black Week continues. It is no longer Black Monday. Today, after 24 seasons in the year 2024, Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots mutually agreed, so they say, to part ways. Pags, I know the buzz is everywhere. Bill Belichick, one of the best to ever do it, winningest coach in NFL history. Thoughts?
This is a Mike Vrabel move. As funny as that sounds, I mean, you could give all the accolades you want to Bill for doing 24 years and probably one of the most winningest coaches. Took them to 10 Super Bowls. He won 6 of them. He's the fact that he has been in that many foxholes fighting, and getting that many rings is an amazing feat in only 24 years. And you could say it was because of Tom Brady. Hey, listen, he was an integral part in choosing all that. So all those pieces all fit together. That all being said, I think they did him a little dirty.
Because as soon as he stopped winning, what do you think? As soon as he stopped winning?
Well, no, I don't think it was as soon as they stopped winning. I think as soon as the Titans fired Mike Vrabel. That made that decision. I knew it right away.
Dramatic. So he was, and you're right, because the buzz within the last few weeks was, hey, Belichick's out. He's doing poorly. Then he wins one game, and all of a sudden New England fans are like, well, let's just see. Then they're like, well, there's no way he's just going to, be fired. They're going to probably have a sit down. You and I talked about this on the Sunday morning big football show with Mac, Jack, and Jim Jeffcoat, as well as CJ and Keith Angle. But it was coming. It was just a matter of time. And I think you're probably onto something, that right when Vrabel became available, former New England Patriot himself. But then my thoughts are, what could Vrabel possibly offer the Patriots? He comes from a less than winning season after 6 seasons in Tennessee. He finished, I think, 542 on the record, so barely above 500. What could he possibly have other than the commonality of being in that location and playing with the Patriots back in the day?
He's a beloved guy over there. And if you're going to pick a coach that you're going to stand behind, I understand, like, the world today is, what have you done for me lately? And the hook is very, very fast. But Robert Kraft is not that guy. He's not going to just do a coaching carousel and start firing guys if they don't perform very quickly. I think he wants Vrabel there. I think he's going to have a very, very long leash. Unless there is something going on where there is super dissension within the ranks around Vrabel, he's getting like a 7-year, place to go coach. He's not going to make things all of a sudden better in New
Right.
England. I mean, everybody loves, like, again, everybody says, okay, well, it's so close that any team could go and win the Super Bowl. That's really not the case. You need to have a culture. You need to be able to set everybody up in the right positions. You got to have the right personnel, and then you got to have all of those things moving in one direction to be able to finally say, yes, we are a championship team. And that all comes with time. And if you're not going to give your coach any time, you're not going to get there. And I think that that's what you're seeing, especially in your neck of the woods with Carolina. I feel
Yes.
that,
Forget
if
that.
you're not going to give them the moment, if you go to, oh, I can't stand this guy. Oh, I can't stand this guy. I can't stand this guy. I mean, if you're going to start to do that, you're going to run in disarray, which is kind of what's been going on down there. So
Yeah, you hear me talk about that a lot. I was trying to steer clear of Carolina tonight, but you're right. It's
but
hard
that
to
but it's
not
that
talk about it.
mentality. It is that mentality, and I feel that Robert Kraft is making a decision here for his franchise for a long term, not a short term. But you couldn't let him stay out on the market. He's going to get picked up somewhere. If Bill wanted another year, he wasn't going to be able to get Vrabel, and that's the
Yeah.
problem here. That was the problem. So I thought it made a lot of sense to me. However, Bill does not get to leave on his terms.
Yeah, in fact, I don't think that's going to be the last we see of Belichick. There's rumblings that Atlanta may be interested in him. They are looking for a coach once again. They have like that 36-month window and then off with your head down here. No one seems to be able to hang in there with coaches or quarterbacks anymore. It's like you said, the instant gratification. What is the resolve for that? If Mike Vrabel does in fact come to New England, what type of weapons will he even have up there, or does he just start from scratch? Are they totally in rebuild? What are your thoughts on that?
Got to start from scratch. That's the thing. You could take whatever weapons you have and make them yours, but in most cases you want to build from zero. That's what you need to do, eh, to be able, where Bill Belichick has left this team. You know what I mean? This team's not doing different reasons. But ultimately, there are some weapons that are there. They may not be great weapons, but there are some weapons. And you're going to start using those, and you're going to start to acquire other ones. And like I said, I feel like that this has got to be, like normal, a 3 to 5 year plan. You can't do this over 1 year's time. And if you are, you're overspending and overcompensating, and you're hamstringing next year. So I think
Right.
that that's what's got to happen. If real franchises go through this in a real way. When you try to just get yourself there for the next year, that's why you don't get there. And that's part of the
Right.
problem with today. That's why when I hear about, oh, if Nick Sirianni loses this game on Monday, he should get fired. That's not, I don't subscribe to that. He's gotten to the playoffs for the last 3 years, one of the most winningest coaches for the last 3 years. And all of a sudden we're gonna just go can him because things aren't going right. Not the way I do things.
And you're right. You mentioned how close he and Robert Kraft were. Um, Bill saying today he will always be a patriot. Even Tom Brady saluting him, talking about how they accomplished wonderful things despite that marriage that did not work out that we know about. But it did work. For when it was working, it was great. And then today, Robert Kraft speaking of how emotional today was for him, as well as saying what Bill accomplished, in his opinion, will never be duplicated. We look at some of his greats over the last 24 years. That is an extensive, one of the longest, if not the longest, coaching tenure in NFL history. He actually had just told Kraft, that is, had told ESPN last week how disappointed he was in the 2023 season. They were 4-13, and they were the worst. It was the worst record that they had in the AFC conference during that time. However, we have to look that he began his original coaching in 1975, the year I was born, and went on to hold several assistant coaching roles for the Baltimore Colts at the time, Detroit Lions, Broncos, and New York Giants, before taking over as the head coach of the Browns in 1991. He joined the Patriots in 1996 and as an assistant to then Bill Parcells before leaving the franchise to become the New York Jets head coach in 1997. He then went back to New England in 2000 and began to build the Patriots dynasty. And we've seen them go from on and on through quarterback to quarterback, but the most winning time was when he had Tom Brady. In fact, after that, a lot are attributing that quarterback issue is the main issue that New England just has not been able to get. So you're right, they will definitely have to build from scratch. I'm not too sold that it'll be Vrabel, but you're probably right because of the timing. But who knows? It's so many coaches out there this week that have lost their position. What other coaches do you think it's going to be anybody else this week? I mean, we're only on Thursday. We have one more weekday, and the weekends are definitely not off limits.
I believe at the end of this weekend, we're probably going to see at least one, if not two more. I'm still not convinced that the Saints coach gets fired. I think the longer that social media runs with it, you have a lot more possibility of that
Frenzy, the
occurring.
media frenzy. You're right. And it's so powerful. The media frenzy is real because you can think, okay, things are fine. And then the media gets involved, and then you got the obsessed fans that are over it. And to be honest with you, Pags, you're right. It's a different type of fan now than when we first started becoming fans. You know, now the millennials are just like, now, now, now. I want to ring, 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 and off with your head. And they get into the mentality of the owners and the coaches and the GMs and whatnot. And it's even been known that David Tepper talks to the media. He talks to social media type people as far as what his decisions are going to be. And finally, he's decided to get a PR firm to go out there. I think it's somebody affiliated with the NBA, a former GM that's going to be helping him actually hire a credible GM. So this is the first year that there may have been some effort, but it's because when you look at Panthers games, he's losing the fans. They always say the fans are the most important teammate. You look at the stadium and every single week. Now we know Cowboys, even Green Bay, they travel well. They travel well regardless. But when you're going against the Cardinals, how many Cardinals fans are in Carolina? Let's be clear. Or Jacksonville, like we were in Jacksonville, but I believe the same would have been true if they had come to Charlotte. And Jacksonville was franchised the same year the Panthers were. So they shouldn't have that many more fans than Carolina, with it being North and South Carolina Panthers. But what are your thoughts about that? Do you think that it is a shift in the dynamic of the fans and the control that comes from that?
Well, the one good thing about owning an NFL franchise is that if no fans went into the stadium, the owner would still make money. And that's absolutely honest. He won't make as much, obviously, when you're selling
Right.
tickets for 45 cents. I mean, and nobody's
Oh,
interested in buying
Ed,
them.
no, you went there again. God, you gave them out.
I mean, I
Definitely
have to because to be honest, it's disrespectful to the fans. That's
very
the reason why.
disrespectful.
It's not. Hey, listen, I wouldn't spend the 45 cents because of it. Open the gates. Just open the gates. Let them come in. At
The
least then
last
maybe
game.
you'd maybe get some people to come. Like, hey, listen, we're giving away free tickets. We're not going to sell them for 45 cents. We're not going to have a quarter full stadium. We're going to just let anybody in. You want to come to the game? This is your chance to come to the game. And that's that. We're not going to charge for parking. We're not going to charge for whatever. But it would be a coup. Obviously, that would be crazy. You can't do that. You know, that doesn't make any sense. But it does. It does. And I kind of feel that uh, he's he has to do something. He has to do something, or else he's going to have to sell the franchise because nobody wants to hear that they are the horses behind,
Right,
especially a billionaire.
right.
He's worked real hard to make that money. I don't know any of his story. He may have had the silver spoon, but he worked real hard to get to where he's at to be able to own this franchise and to own the soccer team. And if he hears all the time that he's the horses behind, I mean, it's just yeah, it gets to you. It gets to you. You know, he's got ego too. So I'm hoping maybe that's what's occurred because I don't like it when franchises fail, and are in that failing mode.
It's been rough, but I do want to take a moment to address our audience that is coming in. I just made the stream public. My apologies. So everyone is saying they couldn't share. Please try again now. I'm joined by the one, the only, the Philly sports guy, Pags, the big diehard Eagles fan. I'm gonna at the close of the show give a chance for him to tell you a little bit about himself and his show and what he has going. So I just want to greet. We have an Eagles fan that came on earlier. Let's see. Eddie Erock, and then hello, Stephanie and Catherine and Tamika and Linda is on, our nice producer, lovely producer. She said hello as well. So we both appreciate you all tuning in, and you can share this stream. And yeah, so Pags, thanks for letting me put that little pause in there. Okay. We're gonna get to your Eagles in a minute, but let's talk about the playoffs coming up. Now we know the Eagles are there. And the tough topic is there are two topics that are tough. Matt Stafford goes home to face his former team in Detroit with the Lions. That's one matchup. And then we have, of course, the Dallas matchup that everyone's talking about. And then we're going to wrap up with you guys in Tampa Bay. Now, you and I have talked all week about some of this, so it could be a little repetitive, but some of our new audience members, has anything shifted? And what are your thoughts about the playoffs? They're going to be starting this Saturday in the afternoon and continuing through Monday. AFC all day Saturday, NFC Sunday, and wrapping up with that big NFC on Monday night, 8:15 p.m. So, thoughts?
The first thought is I'm not really interested in buying Peacock to watch the Sunday night game or Saturday night game.
Facts,
The
facts.
NFL really is, throwing everybody a weirdo curve there. Um, Especially since I love watching football when it's freezing, freezing cold. You know what I mean? Not, I don't want to be in it, but I love watching it.
Right.
Especially at a nice warm place. Uh, that being said, I, the Saturday games look like they're going to be really interesting games in general. I mean, I don't root for other teams, but I'd love to see Houston beat Cleveland. Not because I don't like Cleveland. I actually love Cleveland as a city. And the team has actually done, I think, overachieved this year more so than they have without, like I said, once their quarterback went down, the fact that they were still able to get to this spot here, I think has been nothing short of amazing. And as I said, I think the other day, I feel like that although this game isn't supposed to go into the weight of the best coach, the coach of the year. I feel that the winner of this game will be coach of the year
Oh,
because they
that's
both have done
big.
tremendous jobs this season. But I kind of like Houston here. I kind of like D'Amico Ryan's. I think that he is going to have his team all fired up and ready to go, and they're going to give Cleveland everything that they can handle. And I think ultimately, I think that Cleveland is not going to have enough with Joe Flacco.
They went in,
The
went and got him out of retirement. They had to bring in a weapon. Now Joe has looked solid over the last couple of weeks. Let's be clear. He did not look like he left from Baltimore. He looks like he's rested. And even though he's, creeping towards that big 40 mark, he looks like he is astute with the gameplay. He looks like he's, ready to make the plays that are necessary to get those first downs. And but the youth of CJ Stroud, the number one slash number two draft pick, who came in and literally brought that team from the grave. I mean, the Texans, no one talks about them for a while. D'Amico Ryan's hired with the team last February 2023. I mean, literally offensive player of the year or offensive rookie of the year, what have you. And D'Amico Ryan's definitely coach of the year. Like you said, it's going to come down to that. People are banking for it to be, they're talking about the Ravens, or even Dan Campbell is in the running for that coach of the year. But it's just something about a comeback story or a feel-good story where, to be honest, the Panthers passed on CJ Stroud. And so no one's going to ever forget that. They're going to never, ever forget that. And so because of that, and then when you see the contrast as day and night in the performance, you have to think about everybody's going to be following Texas just because of that one story. This is the number, for all intents and purposes, the number one draft pick is into the freaking playoffs, where the real number two, which got picked number one, has been far removed since week 3. And they're selling tickets for a cup of coffee to get in the stadium. And while I mentioned that, I forgot to tell you, I could not even give my Falcons ticket away. I have one seat that I have in the stadium. It's a nice seat, it's lower bowl in the end zone. I offered to give it away. In fact, some of my friends, because everyone knows I live in Atlanta, had gone up to the game to see it. And I was like, hey, does anybody need a ticket? And they're like, oh no, we're tailgating. Next thing I know, I'm seeing them post pictures inside the stadium. They literally opened up the stadium clearly because I was like, how'd y'all get in? And they're in the box seat, the suite. I'm like, how'd y'all get in? They clearly just opened up the gates. Like, can someone come in and cheer for this game?
Well, no, and they absolutely should have. They absolutely should have. It's funny that I said it like that too. That like, why
Yeah,
even bother?
that can happen.
Just let them in. Just let them in. Maybe you'll make some money on concessions. You know what I mean? You got to have all those people in the stadium, yeah, to work. You might as well try to get somebody in there to spend a couple dollars. Um,
Their
it's a
concessions are,
shame. It is a shame that that occurred, but
yeah,
you know
those
that's
concessions, I'm going to be honest with you. My favorite stadium that I have gone to, and Panthers fans, please hang on to your hats and do not get mad at me. Do not inbox me. Do not text me. Do not take away my Panthers card, okay? Because they know I'm the founder of the Pantherettes. My favorite stadium, and I've seen a few and been in a few, but my favorite stadium for the fan experience is Mercedes-Benz Stadium here in Atlanta. They have affordable food. You can get refills. Like, have you been into the bird's nest? I like to call it the coop.
Megatron's butthole. That's what I like to call it. You know, so it's
I know the birds, I know, but their food is so good. They have more concession stands, so you don't have to stay out in the hallway such a long time. They have a lot of monitors, or perhaps maybe my stadium is so outdated that I forgot what it's like. But I like going to Mercedes-Benz stadiums. I always have a good time, even when we lose, because of the fan experience. It's not a bad seat in the house. They quote, been saying that, and it's really not. But you're right. The owners get paid regardless, but eventually when you're not bringing in some type of money, you're not able to do the upgrades to the stadium that you're looking for. You're not able to give the city or the county their kickback that they're supposed to be getting from it. And your revenue overall is going down. And I'm gonna be honest, at the end of the Tampa Bay game, I knew we weren't going to win, but I was hopeful. I just sobbed. The entire season felt like a funeral. And I was just sobbing for gladness that it was over, that I don't have to go through this anymore. And then sobbing for the sadness that we got the freaking number one pick and we tanked him. He wasn't bad. Our line was not ready for that caliber of a player. We just failed him.
well, and I mean, there's so much that goes into all of that. You know, it's unfortunate that you guys spent the draft picks to not have any fruit come from that labor, and it's going to be felt for another minute, which is why the coach is going to be really like hogtied here to get started. He's going to miss out on getting a number one guy, you know, and to be able to even anchor yourself to. However, I kind of feel that that allows a younger coach. Again, this is one of these situations that the owners got to absolutely learn that you can't just keep switching out. You know, you can't pull the rug out from under somebody. But if you want to get a young coach who you're going to be able to give 3 years for, like to be able to figure it out, to get things moving, and give them a chance to be able to make a stamp on a team initially, then get his key player. So, I mean, if you guys go the same record again next year, it's not going to be fun for you. However, you'll have the first pick in the draft, and it won't be Chicago's.
Right. Won't be Chicago. Then in 2025, we've given up some other stuff as well. And Linda says, Try not to show up pegs.
Yeah, I know. That's Linda's. I think that's Linda's other half.
Yes, yes. And then there's Eddie E Rock with the Eagles logo. Definitely rooting for you guys. We're gonna spin on over into that. But before we get there, what okay, so we talked about all of that little shenanigans with the I say shenanigans because I'm a little hater, I guess, because I really am proud of Texas. The Texas game. What about that Lions game versus the Rams? I'm gonna be honest, I didn't see the Rams coming. I was just like, yeah, they keep losing, they're up and down. And honestly, I think, I don't see them going that far. I could be wrong. What are your thoughts on them? And especially Stafford, the gunslinger, is going back to Detroit.
I tell you, I'm going to go back and forth with this game until I know what happens Sunday afternoon. It sounds ridiculous, but if Green Bay was to somehow upset Dallas, I have immediately just become a Rams fan because I want the
Oh,
Rams. I want the Rams to then win because if the Eagles win, we get a home playoff game, and it would be the first time ever in the history of NFL that a wild card would actually host a home playoff game. Uh,
jeez, that's big.
that would be huge. But again, looking at this game, I think that I mean the joke is going around right now that they're not going to allow anybody in the stadium with the Stafford jersey. I know that that's not
What?
going to be the case. Yeah, if you're wearing a Stafford jersey, a Detroit Lions Stafford jersey, they're not going to let you in. That now I
Oh,
kind of imagine that's not really the case,
that's
but
crazy.
I think you'll start seeing people out there with just blue tape, blue duct tape, and just taping over the Stafford name, just to just wear the number, not the name on the back. That's
Ugh.
you
And
know,
hi,
so
Stephanie. That's crazy. I was just talking to Keith Angle a couple of nights ago, and I was like, if you are a Detroit fan and you know Matthew Stafford is coming home, he was there 12 years. Um, didn't bring anything to fruition, but while he was there, his wife had a traumatic brain injury, so she had to have brain surgery. And that he talked about how that team off the field support how the fans supported them as a family. And so, when he went out west, it was just like, wow, he felt like he was leaving his family. But if you're a Detroit fan, do you really feel like you won either way if Matt Stafford and his crew with these Rams beat you? Or do you still feel like what you just said? Nope, it's just a number now. He's no longer with us.
no, no. See, uh, though here's when that celebration ended when the Detroit Rams didn't get a didn't get a parade.
Oh, that's a fact. Detroit Rams.
You know what I mean?
Oh, I love that.
Everybody from Detroit was a Rams fan, but they didn't get
Yes.
the parade. And I
Yes.
and that's what that's how I feel about it. Like you go up in Detroit, you want to win. I mean, you've never been there, never even really sniffed it. And it's time, isn't it? Isn't it time that you guys try to get there? And they got a team that really is close, and it's interesting that it happens to be against your old guy.
Yeah.
This is where I kind of feel like that if the NFL was scripted, they wrote a pretty good script. Um,
Ah,
it's interesting. I think that it will be. Um, bittersweet for some of these people, but I think Detroit wins this game.
yeah. He's
However,
banking on seeing the Cowboys again too, and Dan Campbell is like my favorite. He has a high energy. He goes hard. I just love how he coaches his team, and he takes no mess, no BS from anybody. And that's probably what they needed that the mental and that power right there, and just fired them right on up. And now here they are. I wouldn't be surprised if it was them and someone else at the NFC. Like I really feel like they are a competitive team enough to go to the NFC Championship. I'm gonna talk
uh,
about
I don't know
yeah,
that.
I'm gonna talk about the elephant in the room on that one. So are you saying you think that maybe Dallas?
Well, I guess it'll depend. Obviously, if I think that Dallas is possibly going to is primed to get beaten. And I'm not saying it's going to be directly from Green Bay. I think that actually Green Bay just doesn't have enough. As much as I'd love for them to beat Dallas, I just don't see that happening. I think that they're a scrappy team. They're playing with house money. When you're playing with house money, sometimes you go a little risky. And I kind of think that that's what's going to occur here a little bit. And ultimately, if some of the risks pay off like they have in the past. For some reason or another, Green Bay loves to knock Dallas out of the playoffs. It would be great. That being
Well,
said,
yeah.
I think that the Eagles could also get them. You know what I mean? If that's the case, because that would be how the script should go. Script should go: Eagles versus Dallas, the Rams versus San Francisco would make a lot of sense. Or you have the game that was won by the referees, so to
Yes.
speak,
Was
against
it?
the last year's NFC Championship game. I mean, they're both pretty good storylines across the board. Uh, I don't know. I don't see Detroit making it to the NFC Championship game. I think this is a big step for them. You know what I mean? They're going to get to see playoff football, and I think that they may be another year away from the NFC Championship game, but they're not there yet. They're not there yet. And I think that either it could be Dallas. Dallas could make it finally to an NFC Championship game for the first time in a long time, against the 49ers. Or it could happen the opposite way around where Detroit doesn't have enough to beat them again. And somehow either the Eagles get by San Francisco or, even some other team. But I really feel like that the three teams that are going to be vying for the two spots are the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the 49ers.
Yeah, and the Cowboys, excuse me, the Cowboys, yes, their nemesis and their kryptonite is always the 49ers. I saw somewhere 2021, 12-5, the Cowboys were, the 49ers beat them 2022. They were 12-5. Cowboys got beat by the 49ers again, and they're predicting like a trifecta on that. But if Dallas does not win this year, I don't know when they would win. This has been the year that Dak has looked most astounding, especially without Zeke. Everyone thought, like you hear me say, Batman and Robin, that he wasn't going to be that big without Robin, but we've seen Batman solo episodes without Robin in them, and he's, just leaned on other weapons. And it's the same when you look at the game. Dak has broke, I think, the last like a whole bunch of thousands of records he's been breaking. But the 49ers, I think what happened is they caught that bad one a couple of weeks back. I can't remember who it was they played, and people
The
have.
Ravens.
Yes. Oh, the Ravens have beat down everybody and left them in shambles. I mean, look at the beating they put on Miami. They made sure they went through Miami like they were a freaking hurricane. Like Miami needed to be sheltering in place. They tore down A Chain, Tyreek Hill. They came from two. I mean, literally, Waddle is waddled up out of there. Like he's not, none of that right now because even though the season started, everybody's like Miami, Miami, Miami. Now they're like, who? No, Baltimore. Another bird, which brings us to your birds, the Eagles. What are your thoughts on your team? What would it take to get through this weekend? Do you think you guys have it? Are there any significant injuries that have come out or more, power plays? More than ever, before I compound this entire question, what is going on with Jalen Hurts?
So obviously he had the finger, he had the knee most of the season, or what it seemed like. There could have been a calf, could have been a knee. We don't really know. Uh, I I think that the finger is going to actually maybe play a small part in this game. Not for anything else other than it's going to force him to have to do what I think that they've been trying to do for the last few weeks, and that's run the ball. I think that is really what they are best at. that is one of the things that the offensive line is made for. And, we got as far as we did last year by running the football. I think that they're going to everybody there's been word coming out lately that they feel that maybe the Eagles have been playing possum, that they have been not trying as hard and trying to hold back some of their energy for this time. And there's a piece of me that says don't think they're playing possum, but I think that the play calling and the things that were being done was a little bit of a farce. That they didn't necessarily want to show too much. So they didn't show anything. In fact, they showed the same thing over and over and over and over again. So I'd be willing to think that they actually have stuff that they've been working on all this time that they haven't really used yet. And all of a sudden, you're going to see a new Eagles team come out against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And we beat Tampa Bay early in the season. I feel like Tampa Bay hasn't really changed much. They may be playing a little bit better football right now. From everything that everybody has seen, the Eagles haven't been playing very good football. So how is it that you can trust that? But that media can switch very, very quickly if
Yeah.
all of a sudden the Eagles come out and look like monsters against Tampa Bay, who's maybe not ready for it. And
Well, yeah, I get all that. Go ahead, Pags. I'm listening.
And I think that when all is said and done, you're going to see a smackdown of Tampa Bay and a media all of a sudden turn around. Are the Eagles for real? What Eagles team's going to show up and such like that? It's still, and it's going to be one game, obviously. You still got to get past whoever it is that we go up against next, whether it be the 49ers and everybody held serve or Dallas because, Detroit didn't make it or or even Detroit because Dallas didn't make it. You know, any one of those possibilities. I mean, I guess even the Rams, if we get a home game, that would be great, but I
Right.
don't expect that. Um, any one of those games is going to be tough. You know what I mean? It's you got to only 1 week at a time, but all of a sudden you're going to feel like it's back in week 2 rather than it's week 18, 19.
Oh, okay. So Pags and I saw Kazim, I guess Hussein did a little 49ers strong arm. So he's saying 49ers. And who you guys got? Eagles or Bucks? I see a lot of viewers on right now. Pags, did you share this to your page or something?
I did. I shared it to a few of my
Yeah.
pages today.
Okay, great. Thank you. I know we got a lot of viewers and a lot of hearts tonight. So thanks everyone tuning in. Share, share, share. Sharing is caring. Uh got the one and only, the Philly sports guy right here, Mr. Pags, the great, like my favorite Eagles fan. So Pags, I'm gonna poke the bear. You've been super nice to me, but anyone who's seen us on set with the gentleman have seen you get crunk all the way up about those Eagles. Now, I'm gonna say something you said on let's see, was it the Sunday morning show? No, 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 no. It was when we met up on Monday when you said you felt like or Tuesday, the Eagles did not deliberately try to win that game. And it was a whole thing with you, CJ, and of course Jack and Mac. And I just want to know, I'm gonna poke the bear, so feel free to scream if you want to. I am not gonna be offended. Who would say they don't care? Because now you guys are like in the number 5 position. That position did not have any bearing on you guys moving up, or no?
Uh, it, we needed Dallas to lose that game, and Dallas wasn't going to lose that game. So I said that we should rest everybody. That I didn't care
Okay.
about that game, and if I don't care about the game, listen, I have a pretty good finger on the pulse of not just this team but the city. It's like and I understand everybody wants to win every game. You want to win these games. You want to be able to say, "Okay, we're here. This is we're doing our thing, and we want to go in with some momentum." The truth of the matter is momentum makes itself. Momentum
Right.
doesn't carry over from games to games. You might feel better about yourself. You may decide to remember what you did last week and do it again this week. But ultimately, how you end the last game isn't how you start the next game. Just doesn't work that way. And ultimately, I kind of feel that you just didn't care about that game because I didn't care about that game. And what I did care about is I wanted to have the team reconnect. And that's what you do. Somebody told me, at a different time, at some point, that a team that drinks together wins together. And I
Oh
kind of
wow.
feel that that's what they did. They had that bonding moment. Maybe it's they all got ice cream. Maybe they all got drunk. Maybe it was just that type of camaraderie that you seem to sometimes forget during the season because you can't see the forest for the trees. You get into it, you get into like a whirlwind of sorts, which is I kind of feel like what they happened. That's why they lost 3 games in a row, and they win one, then they lose one against an old, somebody who was on our team last year and did everything. It was his Super Bowl. That out of all the games, that's the one Gannon had circled. And
Yes.
he brought out every stop there was to win that game, and he won it. Yeah, should the Eagles won? Absolutely. Should the Eagles should have beaten Seattle? Absolutely. Did they? No.
What
And
about the
so
Cardinals game?
that's what I'm saying. Arizona, the Cardinals, they should not have won. They should have won that game.
Hmm.
Absolutely. There's no reason why a team that's 4 and I guess 11 at the time,
They
you know,
were. Hmm.
should win that game. And ultimately, we didn't win it. And I feel that they, you know, at that point, like I said, you went up against a team that was playing their absolute Super Bowl. They were going to win this for their coach because their coach had to show up the other coach who he coached under last year. And I think that's a
So
real statement.
it's a real statement, and I could definitely see that. And it's kind of like let's see, what game was that? They literally put up. I think it was one game they put up in the Arizona Stadium, like basically showing them that this other team had won. So even if you win, it doesn't matter. Neither one of us are going anywhere. What's that Seattle game?
It might have
Uh,
been.
this past weekend.
That's
This past
probably
week.
the Cardinals were playing against Seattle,
They
so
trolled them. I knew it was Arizona. I was like, okay, wait. Seahawks and another bird, once again, the birds. And Stephanie Marie High says the 49ers definitely showed a blueprint. What are your thoughts about that, Pags?
the 49ers so everybody forgets the first quarter of that game. These guys were playing, listen, the 49ers are a great team and they kicked our asses that day. So I'm not going to take that away from them. However, the first quarter of that game, they got -6 yards and the Eagles drove 150 yards and ended with 2 field goals. Now, had they ended with touchdowns, that game could have been a lot different, but they didn't. The 49ers were there, and then they ran out of gas. That was their third
Hmm.
game in 13 days.
They
You could
running poor CMC down. They running him down.
right. So, and then it just they were exhausted. And then right after that, your fourth game in 20 days is against the Cowboys. Then the Cowboys won. Correct. Again, they were still tired. They're still tired, but the defense has been playing a tremendous amount. Now the defense is really they played a lot against Buffalo. They played like 42 minutes against Buffalo. They played like 38 minutes against San Francisco. But the one play that told me about San Francisco that you could just see that these guys were exhausted was the one hit on Swift towards
Oh
the end of
yeah,
the game. That
yeah.
one, and towards the end of the game, that's what happens when somebody's only able to run at 80% speed and the other guy's running at 100%. It's not good for the guy with 80%. And it was
Yeah.
such a blow up. They blew him up. You know what I mean? So San
And
Francisco, like I
Stephanie's
said,
got it
San
in there.
Francisco is a good team. They're going to be very, very tough to beat. But you know what? The Ravens beat them, and the Ravens made it look pretty easy. And you know what? Then after all, you could say all the backups were in, the Rams beat them. So I mean, they're not infallible. They are human beings and they can get beat just like everybody else can. So we are all have the same record. And you guys and the 49ers get a bye. Good for them. They earned it. They absolutely earned it. They have a great team over there.
Yeah,
Doesn't mean that
Stephanie's
they
been
can't
chiming
ball.
in with us on that one. So with all that, what happens? Where do the chips fall with the Eagles? I think I think Tampa Bay is looking decent. Even though Baker Mayfield has bruised ribs, he wears a compression under his uniform regardless. He's probably going to get like a couple little cortisone shots or whatever they give him to pump him up and get him through the game. And he's been compared to like the Brady legacy for so long. And coming from Carolina, who he did not expect to be leaving that team, and now on a team that's coming from the gutter division of the NFL. The entire division just got over 500 like in week 17. I mean, I'm kind of exaggerating, but they were under 400 most of the season, let's be clear. And so now they're here, and we've heard of teams that are less than coming back and just running the table. What are your thoughts on that? Irregardless of it being against your team, Pack.
Listen, Baker's a good quarterback, but he also gets blinded by the lights. You know, when the spotlight is on him, he doesn't always show up the best. It was a Monday night football game the last time we saw them. So this is our second Monday night football game against the same team, which is kind of interesting. I don't even know of any time that that's ever happened.
Crazy, right?
So
Yeah.
it you can't take them for granted. You can't take this team lightly. They're still a playoff team. You know more about them than I do. You know what I mean? I know that in week 3, we went in there and we smacked them around. Now, this is now week 18. You know what I mean? It's a lot different season.
A
You
lot of
guys,
injuries have occurred. It's later in the season. The mental, the physical tiredness that with this extra week that we have now. So
but I also believe that uh, when you look at it just at its core, when you just look at the players on both teams, the Eagles are a much better team. From top to bottom, I think through from coaches all the way down to kickers. So I just feel that, and I think that that's going to show through. I think that you can't take them lightly, and you can't make mistakes. You can't just again, you can't fumble the ball. You can't make interceptions. If you do that, you're going to lose. This is still the playoffs, and this is still a professional team. But as long as you do what you're supposed to do, I don't think there's any chance that the Eagles can lose here.
and that's all the way to the top.
So I'm going to take one game at a time. You know what I mean? Obviously, the Dallas Cowboys or the 49ers are going to be a very tough out. You know what I mean? I think that when it comes to the 49ers, as Stephanie put, that their team rested all of their starters against the Rams, and that's why the Rams won, which is awesome. But now they're going to be off for 3 weeks, which you could say they're very well rested, but they're also going to be rusty. And to have the first quarter like they did, if the Eagles are going up against them and the 49ers have the same type of first quarter that they had up against the Eagles when they were in Philadelphia, it could turn into a different game because make one of those field goals a touchdown, God forbid both of them. All of a sudden, the 49ers are going to be very scared. 6 points isn't a big deal. 14, 10 or 14 points becomes a big deal. And when Brock Purdy has to play from behind, he plays poorly. So
Brock
that's
Purdy,
all I
who
got to say. That's all I
Yeah,
got to say.
Brock Purdy, who was in the running for offensive player of the year as well, or MVP. Let's be clear. He was in that running. It's been a little silence, but looks like Stephanie is probably a 49ers fan because she's saying that the Eagles won 5 of their last 6 games. And that's true. And I was going to get to that. She kind of like jumped me on that one. So good. I am
The
here,
Buccaneers
Stephanie.
have won 5 of the last 6, and we've lost 5 of the last 6.
How are they better? And she says in her next comment that the 49ers are still going to win, and she's saying Brocky. So she's 49ers all day. Stephanie, thanks for the engaging conversation. She's been chatting all night. Just love, love, love that. Thank you so much, Stephanie. What I mean, seriously, but that's a legit question. Is it because, like you said, they were playing possum, and so you
No, I
know,
think they're going to like I said, I think that the play calling was a little bit of a farce. It just seemed so ridiculous that it was the same thing, the same thing, the same thing. And that's kind of what I think is going to change. I think that they not that they were playing possum, but that the play calling it didn't seem real. It was like somebody who's playing the same like
Scripted.
playing Madden, and they're picking the same play over and over and over again. Like it just didn't make sense to me. And that just kind of shows me like what are you hiding from? Like what
Right.
is the purpose of this? I don't understand. I mean, you win two of those games at the end, and we could possibly be talking about the number one seed. So is it real or is it uh you know playing possum? Is it a farce? I don't know. I can't speak intelligently on why they were doing it the way they were doing it. I know that they said for the Giants game, I didn't care. I can imagine they didn't care, and they were resting up and they were getting themselves together for this playoff run. They were in the Super Bowl last year. Can't take that away. And the
Can't take that away.
49ers, no matter how good they played us in Philadelphia, you know what they didn't do? They didn't win the NFC Championship game that day. Now,
Yeah.
they may still win it, but they didn't win it that day because we
The
won
day
it.
that it counted.
Yeah, right. The day that it counted, we won. So
Right. And good evening, Earlene. I see you as well. And my sister Tamika, both of them tuning in tonight. And so yeah, Earlene is a huge Cowboys fan. Cowboy Nation is stronger than ever. Even Cowboy fans that have made fallen alongside and given up over time, they're like, well, we're back. And then we always say if they don't win, then it's off with your head for Dak. It's a love-hate relationship as if the entire game is on him. But we did see him last year just seemingly not do any type of clock management and forget to spike the ball and time runs out and they literally lost the game. But my thoughts on that is if you play the entire game, you don't have to worry about that last minute fluke being the entirety of the outcome of your game. So yeah, Stephanie's still talking about how they played without a quarterback. We got you, Stephanie. So Pags,
guess what? You
what
still got spanked. And your defense that was so great last year gave up 38 points because you didn't
he's
have a
gonna get
quarterback.
broke
Guess
up.
what? You only scored 14 points against the Cowboys the week before. So don't tell me that it was your offense that needed to do everything. It was the defense that won you the games and got you there last year. Your defense is going
That's
to
what
have
the
to do it again this year as well.
That's Pags talking to the 49ers fans, Stephanie and the crew there, the old faithful. So forever faithful, I think it is. So you're talking about the play calling. Is there an issue with coaching? Would you think that because we've seen Jalen look amazing and then we've seen him look shook, and this is prior to him having any injuries, at least that we knew about. Um, do they need to call Nick Foles in again, like the quarterback whisperer as an emergency? What will it really take? Because the season did start like I thought, okay, Philadelphia is them, they are for real. But as the season progressed, it does look like it's scripted or a different play calling all around. What are your
I,
thoughts on that, Pack?
I don't know. I don't know if it's the actual play calling or if it's Jalen Hurts changing the play. That I've heard a number of different things, and I feel like that it's more the latter of those two. I think Jalen Hurts is actually changing the play at the line, which is why you're seeing the same play over and over again. I feel like there's something going on with that. Like there's
Right.
something
Someone
that's
should be
missing.
calling him to the side about that and saying, that's especially not every time. Like we see quarterbacks get in a position where they decide to go for it on 4th and 1 against coaching and they do it here and there. But when you see a repetitive
Hey, fourth and
play
one, I
calling,
feel I'm the most confident about that.
well,
I
that
am
was just
more
my
confident
example.
about 4th and 1 and 3rd and 1 than any other guy in probably the world
But he's
because I know
playing
we're going to make that.
the push tush,
Yeah,
the
the
push
brotherly
push. I'm
shove.
sorry, tush push. Yeah, that they're talking about banning.
Yeah,
I
they're
think
not going to ban
everyone
it. They can't
they're
ban
like
it.
5 yards out and they're already pushing the entire line. But I don't know if you remember when Cam was with the Panthers, Cam used to just lay down and the whole line would just push him up. So I'd like to say he kind of at least invented it. But now the Eagles have just got this thing NFL wide, so to speak. But if he's constantly playing like that, and every time it looks like he's calling his own plays, or there's an issue with the play calling, you guys end up losing, especially as of late. So what has to happen? Does he need to sit down with the OC or the quarterback coach, or what is it that it's going to take to get them to get it through his head? Like, hey, no, These are the plays. We see the bigger picture here. You're just on the field at that moment. We need you to sit back a little bit and let us run these plays. This is what we get paid for.
I think his finger is going to do that for him. He's going to not be able to throw as well. He's going to not have all of that time. I think they're going to run the ball. I think that's really what got them there in the beginning of the season. The running of the ball was what really we were gaining 200 yards on the ground and such like that, and then we got away from it. Starting really against the 49ers. Ultimately, I feel that we go back to that. It's not going to be left into Jalen's hands. You know what I mean? He's going to need to make some plays as they go, but short of that, you know,
And then in the interim, do they put in Mariota?
no.
Does he get some play
Pa,
time?
pa. That's the end of our season.
We
Come
can't
on.
believe
You
you guys
lived there.
signed
You
him.
lived in Atlanta. You saw Mariota.
You
You
guys,
know
he
that at the
left
end of your
the team.
season, the moment you see him.
He left the team and basically got mad because he was benched. Left the team and scheduled something on
So
his wife. He
absolutely,
was
I want
having
to
a
put him
baby.
in. Get out of here,
And
man.
then he turned around and had some medical emergency that the coaching staff said they knew nothing about, that he was season ending because he just was mad that he got benched. And we were shocked that prestigious Philadelphia decided to give him a chance. The city of brotherly love decided to bring Mariota up north. So he's getting no time to play this weekend at
No.
all.
Unless we smoke him that badly, he gets to play for a couple of minutes at the end of the game. So maybe the
Okay.
last 5 minutes of the game.
The rule was
Hey, listen, Stephanie. I see you putting all your things over there. If I was the 49ers, I would want to prove ourselves for the NFC Championship game and play the Eagles. That's what I would want to do. So I wouldn't be rooting for Tampa. You'd be wanting the Eagles. You'd be wanting like salivating. That's what you should be doing. So
Thanks,
I
y'all.
understand that, but you got a little fear because we live in your head rent free because we really smacked you down last year.
And they said they got Jalen's finger snapped back into place, so he's gonna be ready to go. It's gonna be an interesting game this weekend coming up with you guys. And as I always say, may the better team win. I don't have a dog in the fight. I'm watching all the other pound puppies fight because my dog is long since out. Pags, we got about a minute left here. Tell us a little bit about your show, how you are, traveling about and chorusing about what your plans are this weekend for this big Eagles matchup. Are you going to the game? What you got going on? Give us some plugs on you and tell our viewers how they can follow you. And because clearly you guys are going all the way, so we need to have a feel good story and some continuous football. So what you got?
So I do my show from 12 to 2 on the Northeast Streaming Sports. It's called Coast to Coast, and I do it with Jay McLovin and Bo from Seattle from Pro Football Talk, and we just go on for a couple hours talking about football and all the sports around. And ultimately, you can find me anywhere on any social media. I will be at the game. I will be in Tampa for this game in all my splendor. So definitely look for me on TV because usually when we win, they show this gorgeous
I've
mug.
seen you
So
multiple
Stephanie, you're going to
times.
see me all day long, baby, all
He
day
does be
long.
on there.
Stephanie, you're going to see me.
And his posts are public, so you guys can follow him. Just look him up, the Philly Sports Guy. Pags, it's been so amazing having you on tonight. Thank you so much for joining me. Good luck to your team down there in Tampa this weekend. And ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate all of you who have joined us on tonight. Stay safe. I'll be back tomorrow night at this same time, at this same station. I hope you guys have a wonderful evening as always. Good luck to your team.
This is Northeast Streaming Sports.